Okay. So what we will do during this particular slide, I will try to cover the first 10, the 10 shlokas, that is from chapter 2, verses number 11 to 20, in a synoptical fashion, so that what will happen is you get a comprehensive idea and you follow the chain of teaching of Srimad Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And the reason being, these are the founding principles of whole of Bhagavad Gita. How many ever, like Damayanti ji, she has done probably 4 or 5 times of Gita studies from long time. Me too, I'm still learning. How many ever times we study Gita again and again and again, you find more revelations. The depth is more open, and there is no end to study of Gita. And especially these portions of Gita lay the foundations. Like, there is one very nice saying, they say, Paunaf Punye Shravanam Kuryat. Also, this repeated ones really not only gets you a solid foundation, the punyam that you get also works its way through for you to get the meaning. So this, once the way we are revising like this, makes a lot of, is very beneficial for all the aspirants of getting the Tattva Gyanam. Okay, so without getting much into that, we said that from this 11, verse number 11, Sri Krishna's teaching starts to Arjuna. And as we said, we have gone before again in the shloka number 11. So we won't repeat the shlokas. We won't go into the word by word analysis, which we have done again in each shloka and then in the last class as well. So you can always go back and refer to that, no problem. So the first one, as we said, Krishna, while wanting to teach, as he's conditioning Arjuna, and then he's first comforting him, saying that, look, there are no worries. That please, that all your worries can be addressed, and everything will be addressed. And also, sorry, is it okay? Okay. Okay. So in the, as a typical guru would do to the Sishya, which we have seen, right? That all your worries are really uncalled for, in the sense that he's not ridiculing, but he's saying, look, everything will be taken care. Rest assured. There's absolutely nothing to worry. So that kind of a comforting words that he has given by giving him, and also telling him that, look, all those worries that you have done, and not only that, telling him that you're also placing the recipient of this knowledge, that is Arjuna, in a good pedestal, like a Vidwan. That yes, you are, and you have been speaking about it thus, but let me give you the trial, the Vidya, that is ought to be done for a Pandita. Okay, so that's what we saw in the first on 11th one. And then the 12th one, again, he said, look, the worry is all about the shoka moka, which is arising from the loss of your dear kith and kin, and of all the warriors here with whom you have some blood relations. Not to worry. And he said, look, all these people, including myself, yourself, he said, it is not, and we used a very clever usage of double negatives, which we said, which gives a listener, a disciple, to sharpen his wits, to say, also pay attention, and not just to twist the things here, but really to go. We saw the inner meaning in this, in which he was kind of then comes into a clean, yes, that's right. So all this is kind of a very temporal, in a kind of a passing stage of all these things, where I am right in this warfield, that we were certainly, it's not that we were not there before, and it is not that we are not going to be afterwards. It including so Krishna says it is including myself, yourself, and everybody here. So absolutely, there is not going to be a loss from an absolute perspective. But Arjuna does not know what is an absolute context or a relative context. However, Bhagavat Vachanam and that Guru's Vakyam, that itself is very comforting to him, and he knows the teaching is going on. And then the next one, and to give him a bit more, now coming back to a relative context or a Vyavaharika Drishti, because all that we learn is through this particular life, and our Indriyas, as I said, Jnanendriyas is how we get the knowledge. And the karmendriya is what we do. That's how we are acquiring knowledge. So Krishna knows, so it has to be now given to him in a way that he can conceive this particular concept. So in our Shastras, we normally, whenever we give these examples in all the Upanishad, we use these two terminologies called Drishtantam. Drishtantam means drishtaha, that which can be seen, observed, antam, that the end of that observation, that the final goal of an observation. What have we really learned from some observation? That is drishtantam. And that which can be learned by this, all the senses of perception, that which can be perceived. That's a drishtantam. Then the Shastras, then it uses that for what we call as darshtantam. The darshtantam means that which is then an applied principle from that what you have observed. So the darshtantam lays the philosophical principle of understanding. Often the learners of this philosophical aspirant is connecting these two really, between the drishtantam and the darshtantam. And this is a continuous exercise. The more and more we learn these one, so that is why he said in this one, so when he said dehinosmin asmin de, in this deham itself, in this particular birth that we have all taken, you have gone through several phases of changes which cannot be reversed, and which you are the same person from a personal, your personal identification, having been from a boyhood and everything. These days we got so many tracking of digital things which tells you what you were doing 10 years ago. That's all fine, but then what it tells you is your personality just remains the same. Yes, you got more wrinkles, or you got more your bodily change, your more associations have come. That's all fine. What Krishna says is, but you as a person remain the same, have not changed. Your qualities can change, but that personality remained the same. Similarly, Krishna says, you have gone through several bodies before, personalities before, and several personalities hereafter too. But your identity, the true identity of the Atma, is like that same person in this life, in the very many lives. So then you now transport yourself from this birth to, oh yes, that's right. So I have to catch that original one, because that is beyond this name. In this Janma, I have been given Shri Vidya, Shubha, so many names. And I've been known through all the names. But beyond all these things, my name and the gender and everything, there is something that I have been born, and that is my true identity. So always the travel in, and this is one particular Drishtantam to Dashtantam. Understand? So the English words like simile, metaphor do not apply in these ones. They are very unique in our Shastra. So in this particular shloka, so Bhagavan gave two abstract views, right, in 11 and 12. So in 13, he knows that kind of Arjuna is kind of perplexed. He's kind of, yes, that's very good, but how do I perceive? He says, look, how you are perceived in your current life, similarly, it is what it is. Then he has come to some kind of a reflection of this cognition, the teaching. That's what happened in 13. Okay, next. On the 14th, he said, yes, in this cognitive, you understand, right? You are all with me. In this cognitive learning of this through, yes, I have been part of this. So Krishna says, look, Arjuna, you have been part of this nature. Nature is evolving all the time, of which in this instance, you have evolved with the personality in your identity. And it is as if this mother, the nature is the mother of everybody in this earth, maybe in this whole cosmos. Yes. And that particular, he gave you that matra, right? Meaning to say they are the Panchabhuta. That we are all just nothing but an admixture of this Panchabhuta, not only in this biological body, even in your subtle body. That's the uniqueness of our Shastra. Chandrama manaso jataha. The mind is born out of the moon. Because we saw all the other matra, but we didn't see the manas. So that's what in these class, I will give you a comprehensive idea. So I won't be repeating most of it, what I did before, but this gives you a much more connective thoughts into that. Okay. So for example, you would have seen, we often say during the full moon day or in the no moon day, something happens to the mind. The mind is very much influenced by the moon's travel, which science cannot reveal. I know in many schools in yoga, they don't do on Purnima this thing because it's not good. So, let's not get it. But what I'm trying to say is even the mind, the subtle body that we have is related to this nature. And because of this connection between the nature to everyone's existence, there is a subjectivity of this to the nature. And that's how Krishna says, look, because the nature is in a constant form of a flux, and so too you are, and certain how you are then subjected to this is what we call as pleasure and pain. In terms of that, so next shloka he comes, right? Heat and cold. But whatever it is, these are sometimes voluntary, meaning to say you have no control over this. Some are involuntary, that is, we have subjugated ourselves into that because of our reactionary procedure to this one. So Krishna says, let that be whatever it is today. What Krishna says is, at the moment, you just observe this, Arjuna. In this connection, nobody can be out of this connection. That our Shastras is not teaching us to just escape from this nature of this subjectivity and objectivity. What it's saying is, accept it as they are coming. And the nature is they are in a constant flux. Agama payinaha. And they are anityaha. And all that he is teaching you is tvam titikshasva kevalam. Titikshasva means here acceptance, not to say that, look, I'm going to bite my teeth and withstand the heat and cold, and that I'm going to fight the nature. That's not the purpose of teaching here by Krishna. By Krishna's teaching here is accept it and just bear with them as a witness, and he is going to see how cognitively this can be handled in the forthcoming shlokas. But in this one, as far as he's saying is, the key message is acceptance and forbearance. Do not have to fight back. So then he says, what are the purpose of the me being? So actually Krishna is, by that, as he's teaching him, he's also conditioning the disciple, the Shishya, Arjuna, so that his knowledge is well received. So he says, yes, the purpose of all these conditioning or your observance of all these things, Arjuna, this will fetch you to be a qualified seeker of Vedantic knowledge. And this is, and then if you think that you are now because we are always seeking for a pleasure all the time. Nobody wants to seek for a pain, even in the relative one. But Krishna says, yes, but from this particular observance, what I'm going to teach you with a cognitive observance and then conducting yourself in this, Arjuna, this is going to give you into an unlimited happiness. Because all that so-called happiness or even dukkha that you are getting it is from the permanent stratum that is where your original identity is. And that's how the wise and noble have done. And that's meaning to say, when you say wise and noble, this is a knowledge-born exercise. It is just not like a hatha yoga that you're going to, I'm going to just fight and go. No, it is beyond that. Krishna's teaching here is. It's a very intelligent way of handling these ones. And that is the whole purpose of this particular forbearance and acceptance, titikshatva. And that equanimity in this, the equanimity, how do we get the equanimity? That's what he comes in the next shloka. And that's where the whole equanimity, the samatvam in the sukha dukkham, in the shitoshna ushnam is, and just they are only again like a drishtantam. So now this verse number 16 is where we also we need to dwell a little bit more to get the founding principles. So Krishna's teaching in this verse number 16 will lay as a key foundation for all the way up to the chapter 18. And never mind, Krishna will be expanding this more and more. Probably one chapter will be there for this particular one. Not to worry, but what Krishna is doing here is he's sowing the seeds of this knowledge. Having prepared the soil fertile of Arjuna's mind and buddhi, conditioning him, he's sowing the seed. So he is sowing the seed in all of us, this concept. So even if we grasp at this moment in the conceptual nature and the purpose of it, which is very important, then our application of Gita knowledge will be unraveled very, very well when we go into the application of it. So that's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita, where the application of the knowledge and to the practical handling in our life is, there's a beautiful correlation. The observance is for us to get that and then proceed with that. So in this particular one, we said, three clear statements were made. One, he said, asataha bhavaha na vidyate, sataha bhavaha abhavaha na vidyate, ubayaha ubayaha drishtantaha tattvadarshibhihi ubayaha drishtaha. Meaning to say, there is asat. In the asat we said, and then he said in the asat, there is in a very comprehensive manner. In the asat, he said, look, there is no existence. In the sat, which is the permanent existence, is the real founding stratum. And that these two, ubayoho, anayoho, of these two, and they are really, one is on top of that. You can't just remove the asat and look at only and sanat be there. I'm not telling that, Krishna Arjuna. The both are observed in their relative context or how they play. And the tattvadarshi bihi, that is the one that is the Vedantic seeker who observes this and conducts this, permanently fixes one and handles the other. Because the challenge is at this moment to handle the asat. Really, the sat need not be handled, because that is the one that is a handle, that is the handle itself. So we did say that first we have to understand a little bit about all these words, the way they play the thing, right? But we won't go back into that one, because our thought process in learning in this comprehensive is get the chain of one. So first he said was, in this asat, in the asat, when we say, it is not the negative or opposite of sat. Sat means we know that is a permanent. The sat means it is an absolute existence, satyam, and that is the Atman, that is a substratum in which all of us are the true identity. There is no separate identity in that between me or you or anybody in this world. Everybody is that one sat only. That is the permanent identity. Let that remain. So then asat is that relative one, which is on top of this sat, the substratum, on which we are tossed between the sukha, dukkha, and everything. Right? So what is a Krishna's way of giving that? Okay, it is apparent in nature, or it is very relative, and it is so conditioned. Fine, but how does it, what is it? Okay, I accept it. Your words are true, Krishna. But how do I cognize this, and how is it going to help me? Because that is what is a ubayaha. Tattvadarshi is drishtaha. And that's where our the clarity we did not probably get in the last class, which I'm going to get you again. As I said, repeated into this one will give clarity. The more and more confusion you get, clarity will reveal. Not to worry. Okay. So now let us see how we cognize. So the problem, not the problem, I wouldn't say even it's a problem. The challenge we have is to understand this, even in a conceptual nature. And the purpose of understanding this. If we understand this, everything is quiet. Everything is beautifully, it will flow. So first, to understand this, how do we learn in this world? Everything that we perceive, it could be any faculty of science, it could be even a language or anything. To learn anything for the buddhi into this mind through thoughts and everything that we have learned, they are all in the realm of asat. No problem. Now, how this is we learn, the learning process happens through only three things in this world. Very important. Name, okay? Name comes through some words, right? By words. And there is a form. And then when these two are there, we put them in the correct context of placement, a location or some, or its functional entity. And so there is a, then we know that existential object is of this nature, of this name. The name can be of any language. Language, asataha, is a Sanskrit word. You can put it in any language you want. And the language, the words have got a limited scope. After they have shown you that form, the words form away. You go to France, you don't know French, but you tell them, look, I want this. Once just shown you that on the shelf, the words go away. Because the words have that scope of as far as identifying that object. Beautiful. Fine. Yato vacho nivartante. Then the words have got that one. Then you find that particular. So for example, in our cognition of when we get this one, the same language itself, we can have many words. For example, for this deha or this body, when we say in Sanskrit, there are so many words: deha, vapuhu, tanuhu, shariram, like that, right? So when I say, just say shariram, then you're going to say, I know it's a body, it's a living body. What body? Then say, oh, manushya shariram. Okay, it's a human body. And then that word goes away. Then what we call is we get into a form. And form again, in all of them, what is there is, then there is a form that exists. The third one we come to know is that existence. And that existence again is the basic ones. Even in these names, there is a name that should, for example, if we just say a name that has got no meaning, that you have not heard, what that name is, just a plain blabber of some sound. It could be some language we don't know, but it's just a mere sound. It just withers away in the air. And even for a object, if you do not know what that object is, that again remains as just as an entity. It doesn't make any sense to us, right? So, but the main thing is the substratum for all of them is that existence. That is what he said, that these names and forms, or even if they are got any purpose, have got no meaning in that unless that existence of it is there. Okay, now let us say, for example, more with another drishtantam. Now, in our Shastras, when the asat itself it comes, it is analyzed in 4 different categories. One, for example, say one first thing what we call as prak abhavaha. So that's why I'm keeping to abhavaha, bhavaha. Prak abhava, say there is a clay pot. This clay pot did not exist before, but today it's existing. So we say before it not exist. So there is a prak abhavaha, that there was no existence of this pot, but the clay was there. That's fine. Okay, then so the pot exists, then pradvamsa bhavasaha, the meaning to say that this pot can get destroyed after some time. So there is no existence after. Okay, and then the anyonya bhavaha, meaning to say this clay pot is not a clay saucer. Say you have a saucer pan. So this clay pot is different, this clay saucer is different. But in all these things, if you really see, even in these 3 conditions, before it was not there, that was is the existential nature. So meaning to say, even when there was the prak abhavaha, for that the condition of was introduced. And even in the future, that is going to be, or the tense of the isness is used. And between both of them as well, the isness is used. And the fourth, when we say the existence exists. It is not dependent on any. That is what Krishna says as a sataha. that sataha, which is beyond the previous prakabhava, that it does, the sataha is not conditioned to that which is did not exist before or after, or that there is a differential existence, but it is a one entitical one empirical existence. Because that one single empirical existence, isness, is what everything is based upon, the name, the form, as I said. Are you with me so far in this one? If you got any doubt in this, raise your hands, or you can tell me, look, I've got this confusion, so we'll do more drishtantam.
Sorry, Babu, are we talking about the soul here?
Sorry?
Are we talking about the soul?
Phone? Sorry, I didn't
No,
hear.
no, soul, sorry. Soul.
Yeah, Atma, that's right. Atman. Yes, of course, yes. So
yeah.
Atman is the Sat. That's what you're saying here. That Atman is the one undifferentiated entity. That is why we should not say there is no differential entity between in the Sat. Whereas in all the Asat, there has to be a difference. There has to be a difference between a clay pot and a clay saucer, even in that clay form of the raw material we speak. And that their existence is subjected to a previous time that before that it did not exist. Or say, for example, we all have these phones 100, 200 years ago, this was not there. So certainly they are subjected to time of a previous time and once of the later time as well. But for the Atman, these existential nature of these four conditions never applies. That is why that is called absolute existence. And what Krishna is here is for that to say is that isness, that isness, when I say isness, that is the one that is called as a sataha, bhavaha. The bhavaha is the isness here. For sataha, abhavaha na vidyate. For that permanent existence, isness will never go, because isness is existence. And that this cognition, as how we cognize and why we are not okay in all these things, then we come and say, okay, it's all fine when we understand the pot, clay, pot, saucer and everything. But the minute when we come to the sataha as the Atman, it's really just again word. It doesn't reveal me a name or a form. Yes, it cannot. Our problem is to then ascertain a name and form to that Sat or Atman or Brahman. Why? Because when we try to learn in the Asat everything, that we could objectify, right? And when we objectify the knowledge of in the Asat, there is a subject which is the knower, and the object which is the prameyam, and there is a knowledge, right? So there is a subject, that's I, and there is an object which is a pot, clay or saucer. And to recognize between a pot and a clay, that's the knowledge. You got it. The three entities in all of that. But whereas in Atman, why that is not there means the object is the subject itself, and the knowledge also is a subject itself. The subject is the knowledge, and the subject itself is the object. That is why we say that this has to be done only through that you are that knowledge. That knowledge is the one by which everything else is coming from. And whatever cognition you have done is only through this isness. Because you are there, you are able to say, know this. You are there to know this. And that particular cognitive, your Atman, that undifferentiated one, in that if that your focus is kept, Krishna says, then everything tends to reveal and they automatically shed away. We don't have to, this is nothing like I have to put my identity into Atman. I am the Atman. No, I am not the body, and then function. It is not possible. It is like cheating ourselves. And how that is obtained, For that, so, and why this has to be done? Because Krishna says that asataha is equal to that in all the Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkam. How do we see the samatvam? Through the sat. And how that can be seen is through what these teachings in the Gita is. Through the karma yoga. So what Krishna is really doing here is, as I said again, the first beginning of this explanation of this one, that he's sowing the seed so that the karma yogin, as we are all are, can rightly perceive the knowledge to get this karma yoga. Because in Gita, the teaching of the involvement into the karma yoga, that is what the subsequent verses are, is with the knowledge in the focus of this particular concept. Even if it is in a conceptual stage, and then applying it as we indulge in the karma yoga. Because the karma yoga, what Krishna wants to teach here, is through conviction of knowledge, not by blindly giving him commands or asking him to just act in act 1, 2, 3 and don't act 3, 4, 5. He's not giving do's and don'ts in most of the Gita teaching. But he wants that Arjuna be act in the karma yoga with proper conviction that yes, if I act like this, I will not be subjected to sukha and dukkha, because I am born as an entity. I have my duties to perform, and how I execute myself in these amidst of these nature where I am born a part of the nature, nobody is apart from it. It gets me that equilibrium of a mind wherein I am not subjected to the temporal or the constant tossing of sukha and dukkha. That's what is coming into this. And how we can put that focus in the sat and act accordingly in asat, that's all the teaching of the karma yoga that it is coming. And as I said, this is the preparations for karma yoga. The end of the slide in this one. That is the purpose of this verse. Are you okay with me so far then on this? Can we proceed to the next verse? Because if you've got this verse to this extent, it's beautiful. Rest will flow automatically.
சின்ன டவுட் சார்.
Yeah, please.
அதாவது இப்போ வந்து பாடின்னு சொல்ற போது அது வந்து மார்டல்ங்கிறோம், சரீரம்ங்கிறது. ஆத்மாங்கிறது இம்மார்டல். இப்ப வந்து நம்ம வந்து ஜென்ரலா சொல்ற போது அவ புண்ணியாத்மா பாப்பாத்மான்னு நம்ம வேர்டு வந்து நம்ம கலோக்கியல்ல யூஸ் படுத்துறோம். அப்ப வந்து ஆத்மா வந்து இஸ் இட் நிர்குணா ஆர் குணயுக்தஹ?
Okay. No problem. See, what happens is when that's very good question you asked me. See, that Atma as such, when we use in different contexts, can mean different one. When we say Papa Atma, Punya Atma, it is not to in the absolute context of Atma. Okay. Say, for example, I think I did cover long time back. That's no problem. Say, for example, for me, when I'm talking as Babu, for Babu, the Atma is this body. Atma is just nothing but the focus point of an existence. Number one, it's a constant statement. Okay. For example, for me, my Atma is this body. For this Atma, the body is the Pranan, right? Because the Pranan goes away, this body goes away. It's a dead body. So the Atman keeps going inward and inward. Okay. And for the Pranan, the Atma is mind. For the mind, the Atma is that Buddhi. Because without the Buddhi, the mind is just going to waver the thought, the mind is of no use. And for the Buddhi, the Atma is the Anandam, because the Buddhi always trying to make that the master be happy or be pleased or, without any pain. That's what it is working for us. And for that Anandam, that absolute Anandam, that is what is Atma. So, but when you ask that one, Papam or Punya Atma, that is in that Sukshma Shariram. Okay, that is in the mental stream of an identification of a person, that the Papam and Punyam goes. Because that Papam and Punyam, Papam and Punyam are there. We are not negating Papam and Punyam. Papam and Punyam is only there as far as the person is identified with that particular mind and a buddhi as well. If he has got not a buddhi that has got inflicted with some we shouldn't say even sin, some heavy burden, put it that way. Okay, and that burden has to be kind of somewhere to be shut off, because one thing you must understand in this world, everything that we do, every action has got equal opposite reaction. We say no action in this world goes away without sowing a seed. That is the main purpose of karma yoga. And that action, the seed that one has sown by the action that one has performed, depends upon how he has sown the seed. Whether if he has sown a good seed, that because he has sown it, he has sown the seed as that particular person, like Babu or Sumati, as such, you get that good fruits back to you. But if you sow the seed, so how can I sow a seed without me getting involved? Because that's what sataha is. That's what Krishna is coming to say. He says, sow the seed as if you are sowing on my name. Krishna, you are doing this. Krishna says that then comes to me. That's what the karma is. I'm jumping, but it is good, because then you know that we can jump anytime, no problem in Gita. So Krishna says in chapter number 3, Yajnartat karmanon yatra. So said Yajnartat. Yajna means Yajnam by Vishnu. But when you do that action as far as this Krishna, this is you that I am doing, then he said neither the papam or punyam comes to you. The minute I have done it with a sankalpam, as sankalpa means what? This is for me or for my children, then you have to take that reaction back. That reaction, if it is good, then you say it's a punyatma. If that reaction is bad, then you say papatma. But that is only in the relative identification of the person. Have I cleared now?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Atma, it's abstract thing.
Yes. The
absolute bliss.
Yeah. The Atma, there is no punyam or papam. There can never, and this is what Krishna is going to come next. Beautiful. The next verse is going to have more.
But next janmatla, the same Atma goes to the same person or a different person?
No. When you get a new body, that's the same identity.
Identity, but the Atma, the previous, in previous birth, you have one Atma.
No, every birth there's only one Atma. Please. No.
Every birth only one Atma, but the Atma is immortal.
Yeah.
Then the body is mortal. Then in the next birth, you will get
another body,
Atma,
another body,
newer body, and you will have Atma.
Atma is always there. Atma can never go anywhere.
Oh, it is always in.
Always there, like Akasham. Say you have a pot, right? A pot. That's why we always say pot. Yeah, the pot, inside there is Akasham space, outside there is Akasham, and within the layer of the pot, within clay, there is Akasham. Right? Once you break but there is a Akasham, inside Akasham, there's a pot space, outside space, and there's a pot layer space. You break the pot, still all the space remains the same. But then again with the clay, you can make another jar, but then the jar, it becomes a jar space. That's what happens to us.
So
but
Atma is not Atma.
Akasham is not Atma.
So you can say Atma is omnipresent or omnipotent, like that.
Yeah. That's right. And it is only this, all the teachings in this Gita is for tackling that relative identity. That relative identity of our name and form. And that how to wisely handle that in this birth itself, so that we can get out of the cycle. That's what Krishna promises through Gita. Okay, Ji?
Yes, I'm still little vague in my understanding.
No problem. That is what I told you. Between the Drishtam and Drishtantam, this is what my Guru Omkaranda keeps saying. The problem, not the problem, the efforts we are all putting, the challenges we are all doing is between the Drishtantam and Dashtantam. The minute we are able to get the Dashtantam to Drishtantam, you are all yogi, you are realized. But the tussle, but by this karma yoga, but even by this bhakti yoga or by all this shravanam, adhyayanam, what happens is the revelation becomes clearer and clearer, and our purpose in these, in engagement in this, becomes very clear. That is the essence of Gita. Yes, Devina ji?
Namaste, Babu.
Haji.
I actually, the way I'm relating to this is like with a clay pot or a clay jar. Even if it is broken, we make something else out of it. I'm just equating that to Atma, because clay is the same. The clay will be transformed into something else. So
that's right.
We have the same Atman in us. We will be, this is where the theory of reincarnation comes, that we will be born again with the same Atman. And we will carry that past karmas with us.
Yeah, and Atman remains the same. Atma is, and also mind you, your Atma and my Atma, every Atma, there's only one Atma.
Yes.
Even for Bhagavan, there's only one Brahman. But once we come to further chapters where we will analyze the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, and also how the gunas pravritti, that is pravritti means how they transcend, how they transgress between a person to person, an object to person, then all these things becomes a bit more clearer.
Thank you.
So that's what Krishna says in the next shloka. What Krishna says is, so this is the mukti we saw, right? Brahma satyam jagan mitya jivo brahmaiva na paraha, which we saw in the first one. So all Krishna said in this particular one is Brahma Satyam. That's what it says. Sataha abhava na vidyate. Jagan mitya asataha asataha bhava na vidyate. Ubayorabi drishtontaha. That jiva brahmaiva na paraha. That is the essence that one sees through all these teachings. Now, once we come to the next one, what Krishna said in both of them, in the previous one, he talked about asataha and sataha. Right. So in the shloka number 17, he now explained more about the Sat or the Atman or the Brahman. Again, these, because whenever we talk about Atman, see, this is what Omkara Swami always used to say. When we talk about Swamiji, when you talk about pot, clay, snake, shank, and all those things, it's very clear. But when you come to talk about Sat and Brahman, everything is blank. He says, then you have understood. Because it is blank, you cannot put name and form to the Atman. Having said that, the cognition, the understanding, so what Krishna says here is again the same Sat, Atman, Brahman is the one that is indestructible, that absolute plane of existence which we have explained before. And he says that one kaschit na kartum arhati. The key point here is when he said kaschit, even Ishvara doesn't destroy that Atman. Why? Because Atman is that Brahman, which is the Ishvara himself. These are the absolute Jiva Brahmaika Vakyam. And yena sarvamidam tatam. By that only everything is held. And while talking about this Asat, and then he comes into the Asat, and whereas in the Asat, and we said in the Asat is, which is this Maya or the Avidya or the Mithya, that is time bound, Antavantaha. Ime Deha. And as you might have, Lakshmiji, if you would have seen in that Vedanta fundamentals, please go and see again. You need to understand the Sukshma Shariram. It is a Sukshma Shariram and Karana Shariram which goes from one birth to the other birth. And what is there in each Sukshma Shariram, you will also see in that one. So please go to that one. So that is why I said in these ones, that 3 Shariram is very important for us to understand all of that. So the Antavanta Ime Deha Ha, why is put it plural? Because these are bound by all the 3 bodies, the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. And Shariranaha is the Atman. And the Atma is Anashinaha. But he said aprameyaha also. When you say aprameyaha, he said it cannot be known. If it cannot be known, why to learn through this? Because he says you are that particular knowledge, and the knowledge is self-revealing. It is not an objectifiable knowledge. And as the karma yoga is practiced, why we are not able to see that today is because of that particular, because it's a reflected knowledge inwards in the buddhi. The buddhi is not able to reflect that particular, the Atman everywhere. It's because of that particular the Chidabasan, or I don't want to go to the unnecessary too much terms, but it is that buddhi which is still not able to have that marred by these affections, these particular ones that we have carried for many births. Once that gets cleared by this karma yoga, it automatically becomes self-revealing. And that's when we say you are a yogi or a self-realized person, as in a terminological sense. And how to get to that stage, Krishna says that is by acting, to act. So that's why Krishna told him, Bharata tasmat yudhyasva. Yudhyasva means here is to act. How to act? As a karma yogin. So he says now, the next one, okay, when I act, as you asked me before, what about the papam and punyam? Because that's what Arjuna is also about, said in the chapter 1. That what about the right way or the wrong way, and then the reaction? It is because I still hold the ownership of the action, right? I am the executor. How am I to then reconcile this? Yes, you are telling me to focus on the sataha, sat, on sat, and that this is all asat. Then how do I do this knowledge and apply? So Krishna says, look, when you are acting normally, and again Krishna starts this from an absolute context. So Krishna puts a very blank statement here. Look, there is really no doer or somebody who is done with. So he says there is no one here that who says I am killing, or one that he says I'm getting killed. Both of them, if they say this, they do not know anything. So again, the statement is very vague and abstract here. How do we perceive this? Beautiful. How do we perceive this act? That because today, I mean, take this one, right? There is a guy who has done as a serial killer. He goes to the court, and the judge asks him, he takes oath on the Bible, oath on Bhagavad Gita, whatever book you want, they bring the book. Yeah. So he says, yeah, bring me the Bible, bring me the Gita. And he takes oaths on the Bhagavad Gita, and he says, yes, judge asks him, hey, you've got all this witness. Do you still agree you have done the killing or not? No, I did not kill anyone. What do you mean? He says, I have taken oath on Gita. Go refer Gita chapter 2:19. Krishna says, I can never kill. I have not killed anyone. So I'm true. So the judge said, look, I thought of giving you 10 years imprisonment. I'm going to now put it double because you didn't write Gita also properly. You understand what I mean? That's what happens. These shlokas. Because he said, yeah, look, technically speaking, he took oath on Gita. He took the real words of this. Like I think there was a movie, that oh my God or something like that. He'll say, look, it's very clearly written. Nobody ever can kill, and nobody can ever say he got killed. So really the other persons who said they are also not killed, I also did not kill. That's not the essence what Krishna. So if you take Vachyartham from these Vachyamritam, literal meaning from these shlokas, we will get Anartham, or completely wrong direction. So how do we analyze this? This is again the essence of Karma Yoga. And as I said previously, a minute ago, every action that we sow in this particular Janma of anybody, even the action of listening or action of me talking, it sows some seeds. And that seed will bear its fruits whether we like it or not. No actions go waste without giving a result, not even 1 second. That's what the secret of Karma Yoga, Krishna will say in again 13. And nobody can even remain for a second without doing as far as his prana is there. So what Krishna is trying to teach here is that it is truly when you are acting here, truly acting here, he says this particular action when you are and the again, as you said before, when you ask me is Atma Papa Papunyatma, why? Because Atma is Akarta. Meaning to say, when somebody says, I have done this action, how is he doing the action? He's doing the action when he say, I have done. And he is putting that person, if he has done that action by putting his identity on that with a purpose that reaction should come to him, yeah, then he is acting from that relative entity, though it is the energy that draws from the permanent entity. The permanent entity is that Atman. Without that Atman, that his existence, he cannot really do any action. For example, I can say I'm moving my hand, but can I really, where is my, it is all this one, even to move a hand like this, I cannot say I can do everything because there is so many things that is happening beyond my control, which can even, my mind can say, yes, I can move. Similarly, for any action to happen, the isness, the sat for the doer and for the other person to be subjugated and for the medium in between, all that is there to be there for an action to be performed. So from that perspective, Krishna is saying, truly in the absolute sentence, in the absolute form, there is no one who can say that I have done this particular action. From an absolute context. But all that we do in this context of killing or in the action is from the relative context. But what Krishna wants you to do, and also same thing for subjugated, like, the ones that has gotten an action done by somebody else, it could be anything, your mother feeding you or something, it's good action. Let's take good actions as well. Even that is that it is that you are getting fed because the presence of all of them in the medium, that is the Atman which is making it happen. Okay, now what Krishna is teaching in this particular one is truly, Arjuna, if you focus yourself on the sat side of it while doing the action, then you can also be an akarta and you can be an abhokta. For that, Arjuna, you do it as a karma yogin. Yajnarthat, as a karma yogin. So can I even, okay, so the question should come here is, okay, Atma Akarta Abhokta, then I have to be in the relative identity and how do I do an action? Doing as an Akarta. Akartaram. Krishna will say in lot of up to chapter 16. Once you have seen that one same identity, yada bhuta pratak bhavam ekastam anupashyate tata eva cha vistaram akartaram sa pashyati, he will say. He says in all that is, I'm just jumping chapters, but I want to make sure that these ones are not just plain words and plain sentences, but Krishna has got some intended meaning to reveal in the subsequent chapters. What Krishna wants to say is, he wants to make everybody an akarta while doing an action and be abhokta while doing actions or while consuming it back. Because every time we are doing actions and we are consuming, we are doing some action, consuming. So in both while doing actions and while consuming it, we could be eating, I could be sleeping, because our existence is combination of both. In all of them, Krishna says you can remain non-attached, non-afflicted by doing the karma yoga. That is the secret. That's all. The all secret Krishna wants to give is, yes, you can be the transactional nature, completely be like the akasham, which does not get afflicted to the clay pot while it is existence, or it is broken by giving you this karma yoga in a cognitive, by understanding. Otherwise, why Krishna wants to give you all this importance in this abstract terminologies? Otherwise, his teachings would become very fanatical. Our Shastras are not trying to teach everything in actions as a fanatical action. Yes, all religion, all of them has to tell you good actions be done, don't do bad actions. But if the good and badness in action or in the person or in the other person, if that is not fixed into the right context, with the right understanding why we should not do this and how we should engage in this without getting afflicted, then the whole purpose is not there, because it becomes a fanatical act. That is why Krishna wants to give this knowledge first. He's sowing the seed to do the actions rightly. So keeping this as even a hypothetical statement, and then when we go to the karma yoga, Krishna said, yes, that's right. Even in the worst of action, even if I have to kill even that, because Krishna is why in the context of Arjuna, because Arjuna is in the war field. He is now, he's going to kill someone or he can get killed. And so in that context, he's saying, but to us, for all the karma yogins of all of us like that, his teaching is to say that, look, yes, you can act without, with being an akarta and abhokta. How to do that act as an akarta? Akarta means as a non-doer. I will do this action, but I will never incur a papam or a punyam. Not to be a, as you very rightly said, Lakshmiji, how to act without being a punyatma or a papatma. These are colloquial terms used. Never mind that papatma, punyatma is to the sukshma shariram. Again and again tell yourself, papatma, punyatma is to the Sukshma Shariram, because that Sukshma Shariram, once has that Papam or Punyam, has to be either repeat in this birth or in the next birth or many after many births, depending upon the actions and the effects. But Krishna's teaching is right in this minute, right from this action onwards, you can do actions being totally devoid of any Papam or Punyam. Krishna is going to completely nullify Papam and Punyam in this Gita. He's going to say, why do you want to go after this Papam and Punya? You want to keep on accumulating papam. I mean, punyam. He says, they are, every punyam has got a papam along with it. I have not given 100% pure punyam. Every punyam is mixed with the papam. Every papam is mixed with the, I can't say the other one, I don't know. But Krishna is going to say, so you don't just because, but how Krishna is showing is, so he's not negating punyam here again. What Krishna is going to say is, use the punyam in the way that it will serve you to realize the knowledge by which these afflictions of this birth can be removed. Te dvantakatam papam punya, he will say that by this karma yogam. By doing the karma yogam, by doing the swadharmam, by doing the dharmam, the way that Krishna teaches here, the punyam is punyam, if at all that comes and accumulates, accrues into our account, that is for revealing the knowledge and making us a pandita, by which we was more viveki, and then to get out of this particular cycle of birth and death. That is the essence of Krishna's teaching again. That is why these principles of 10, 11 to 12, again, I wanted to say so that they don't remain as an abstract term that it didn't make meaning to you at a later stage. What Krishna is doing is sowing the seeds at this time. But these will reveal, this will be again be explained in further one chapter. So are you okay with this as well? Why Krishna said, why no one is akarta? So Atma is akarta, abhokta. From an absolute sense, from a relative sense, yes, if your one is under, yes, then you have to have that one. Okay, so that's why Krishna said this, so that to give Arjuna that from the absolute context, from the Sat, if you focus, then it will not be there. Then this we saw that one, I don't have to go much into this. This was mostly, this particular shloka was mostly from Kathopanishad. Okay, and Krishna's, and this was all from the Shat Vikaram, which in that last class teaching, if you go and analyze that, you can clearly go and see. So when I say Shat Vikaram, in the current existence of everybody's life, there are 6 forms of states or changes, we said, right? Asti, Jayate, Vartate, Parinamate, Vardate, and then Kriyate, and then nashyate. Right? So in all of them, Krishna says this Atma remains as a permanent entity through all of them, not just the Kaumaram, Yovaram, Jana, even through all of them. And that's what Krishna said in this one. Otherwise, this shloka, but this shloka has got a very impactful nature. I don't know. My first inspiration to Gita was this shloka only. Najayate mriyate va kadachit. And that was way back. So this shloka has been a very inspirational one, especially when you hear the last one, hanyate hanyamane sharire, then you feel, oh God, that's right. It is something that it is. So this shloka is a very appealing shloka for very many people. For me, I remember a long time back, when first shloka that impelled me into Gita was this shloka. And this I've heard from many people. And this shloka, I will just read a bit from the Kathopanishad, just for your interest, and then I will probably post it to you as well, how that goes from Kathopanishad. It's beautiful from the Kathopanishad. And that's almost word by word, slightly different because being Upanishad and it's Vakyam. Yeah. So Kathopanishad, so it goes as Hanto chen manyate hantugam hatas chen manyate hatam ubau tau navijanito nayagum hantina hanyate. This was for the previous one. That's how ubau tau na, that came as a hanta chen manyate hantagum hatas chen manyate hatam ubau tau navijanito nayagum hantina hanyate. That was the previous one. This also from Kathopanishad. Then this one again, najayate mriyate va vipaschin nayam kataschin bhabuva kaschit ajo nitya shashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. So you see very similarities in these words. This is completely from Kathopanishad. I will send you that. So this origin of these particular verses comes from Kathopanishad when Nachiketas goes to Yamadharmaraja. And Yamadharmaraja, because Nachiketas in the first thing he goes and asks Yamadharmaraja is the same thing about it. Some people say that after death there is only a heaven and hell. Some people say there is a life after that. Some people say there are. So can you please explain, because you are the one who handle people after death. So you are the king of death. So you can explain me a lot about it. So there Yamadharmaraja teaches all these things to Nachiketas. So Krishna has brought to us kindly from Kathopanishad and explained to that one. And he has aptly taken what I want to see, the beauty of Krishna bringing quickly from Kathopanishad into that one for Arjuna and also in here and putting the sequence together. That's all I wanted to say. And if you again follow this one and ask me more doubts, it'll be nice so we can. Good. Anybody else have any doubts so far on this and that we need more explanation? I'm happy to.
ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு கிளாரிஃபிகேஷன்.
எஸ் ப்ளீஸ்.
அகர்த்தான்னு சொல்றேன் இல்லையா, அந்த பாவம் வந்து நம்ம வந்து கம்ப்ளீட்டா சரண்டர் ஆகிற போதுதான் அந்த பாவம் வருது.
எஸ் யூ ஆர் ரைட்.
பகவான் கிட்ட இல்லையா, கரெக்டா நம்ம வந்து பகவத் சங்கல்பம்னு நம்ம சொல்றோம்.
எஸ் only when you do a
yes, அப்ப வந்து பகவத் சங்கல்பம்ங்கிறோம். பட் நமக்கு வந்து அந்த பாவம்ங்கிறது ரொம்ப ஒரு அல்டிமேட் ஸ்டேஜ்ல தான் வருது.
Not really like that. See, this is the main thing.
நமக்கு வந்து நம்ம வந்து முதல்ல வந்து ஒரு ஆர்டினரி பீப்புள் வந்து நம்ம வந்து இல்லாம நம்ம பண்றோம் தான் நம்ம சொல்றோம். நம்ம வந்து பகவானோட ஒரு பாதையில நம்ம போறோங்கிற பாவம் வந்து நமக்கு வந்து ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கலா வருது இல்ல. நம்ம தான் எல்லாம் பண்றோம் தான் சொல்றோம். எப்ப நமக்கு வந்து முடியலையேங்கிறதோ அப்பதான் நம்ம வந்து பகவான் கிட்ட சரண்டர் ஆறோம். அப்பதான் அவர் தான் நம்மளை வழி நடத்திட்டு போறாங்கிற பாவமே நமக்கு வருது.
See, the thing is, no, see, this is where it is.
அகர்த்தாங்கிற பாவம் வந்து நம்ம கிட்ட வந்து அப்பதானே வருது இல்லையா?
No, see, not you're right in a way, but I think the thing can be done even initially. I can only quote from my example. Okay, for example, when I started doing Sandhya Vandanam when in a younger age, when I got the Upanayanam done, one of my uncle, very good, I think Shubha knows, I'm from Sishan Mama, Shubha. So one day I was doing Sandhya Vandanam and he said, why are you doing Sandhya Vandanam? He said, they told me to do, otherwise they said. So he said, do you think you will accrue papam if you don't do? I said, yes, I may. So he said, so if you do, you think will you get punyam? He said, yes, I think I may get. He says, no, you will not. He says, if you do this, you don't get any punyam. But if you don't do, you'll get some papam. This is one typical karma, because he said, look, because you are doing this for others, you've got a duty to do Sandhya Vandanam, which is one the things that people have got Upanam do, because you are doing this truly for others, and this is a duty that is given to you. So he said, well, you do this Sandhya Vandanam, make sure that you are doing this not for yourself, because you cannot do it for yourself. This is really you're doing. So for example, a king or somebody, if he has to give for the principles, for the citizens that he has to do right, it is his duty to do that one. Okay, he may get benefit, that's different, but Sandhya Vandanam is one. So I was taught like that initially. From then I understood, yes, this is something that I have to do, because I have to do this so that it is for others. So lot of times, like, you do so many of you do maybe even a charity without expecting, that is also a akarta, without having your name being put so much. So we don't have to really put a big myth around being an akarta. We can all practice it even from the smallest possible thing. You do sometimes contribute something without your name coming, you are akarta, because you said, look, I don't even want anything from me. That bhava itself is enough. So bhakti and everything is very important. Yes, that is there, but it can be done even by that. Akartritvam can be practiced from the smallest possible nature, even from an youngest person. That's all I'm trying to say. Even we can teach our children, our grandchildren, akartritvam.
See, we should do day-to-day activities itself in akartatvam.
Yes.
Like akarta.
Yeah,
Yes.
akartartha. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that makes a lot of all these things. Yes. What Krishna's teaching is here is for us to get out of that attachment. And the attachment, what Krishna's trying to teach here is that you don't have to take a sledgehammer and detach it. By you remaining slowly away from this action as akarta, they automatically go. The attachments, because attachment is very superficial. There is no permanent attachment. That's what, that itself is agama payinaha. So then why do we have to, you go and hold it? And they will automatically go away. That is why, when the tale that Trambakam Mejamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Bandhanat Mrityo, Urvarukam Iva Bandhanat. That Urvarukam is that people take it like, the big watermelon. When the watermelon becomes so ripe, the what do you call that? The twine which is coming, that leaves it. That watermelon remains as it is. Same thing. We'll remain as we are. Not that we are going to get any change when that detachment or something happens. The detachment will automatically happen by this. That's the secret of teaching in Gita. And it's a process of happening. And the more and more the detachment happens, the more and more the knowledge becomes clear. The happiness, internal happiness becomes clear, and you're just not worried. And I've seen this through so many people in my life who have been practicing Gita. Damayanti herself is a great example. I see her. Sorry, ji, aapka prastati kar diya. Anybody else? Any doubt? So they are very purposeful. That's what I wanted to say. These shlokas have got a high potency of knowledge plus a purpose. Okay, ji. We'll end with that one. Okay. Hari Om.
Yes, Mahadev.
Okay, ji. Thank you, Narayana. So can we chant, anybody to chant Shiva to the Gita Mahatmyam, or Nandini, anybody want to chant? Nandini, anybody want to chant the Gita Mahatmyam?
do.
Huh?
I'll do.
Okay, do.
Oh.
Atha Gita
अथ
Mahatmyam.
गीता माहात्म्यम् धरोवाच भगवन् परमेशान भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी प्रारब्धं भुज्यमानस्य कथं भवति हे प्रभो।
श्री विष्णुवाच
Okay. Sri, evlo slogan சொல்லணும்? How many shlokas? 5. Sri Vishnuruvacha प्रारब्धं भुज्यमानो
गीताभ्यासत सदा समुक्त स सुखी लोके कर्मणा नोपलिप्यते महापापादिपापानि गीता ध्यानं करोति चेत् कश्चित् स्पर्शं न कुर्वन्ति नलिनी लवमम्बुवत् गीताया या पुस्तकं यत्र यत्र पाठ प्रवर्तते तत्र सर्वाणि तीर्थानि प्रयागादीनि तत्र च सर्वे देवाश्च ऋषियो योगिनः पन्नगाश्च ये गोपाला गोपिका वापि नारद्वोपपाश्रदे सहयोजायते सित्र यत्र गीता प्रवर्तते यत्र गीता विचारश्च पठनं पाठनं श्रुतं यत्राहं निश्चितं पृथ्वी निवसामि सदैव हि.
Okay, so even you see in this one, Kvachit Gita Abhyasam Karete Kvachit Lipyate Nalini Dala Mambuvat. So that's what Krishna is saying is Nalini Dala Mambuvat, like on the lotus leaf, how the water remains there, but never get attached to that one. That is the secret of Gita, he says. And he says, even by this Gita Abhyasam, what we do now, all these things add. What are we doing this? See, we are doing this class now. We are all learning. You are hearing, I'm saying something, what I know little. We are all doing. This itself is a great karma yoga. Karma yoga. This itself is sowing seeds for that particular detachment. You understand? So the Gita Abhyasam by Shravanam, by Mananam, by again and again, even this one, they sow such a great, no action goes waste in this one. They themselves sow a lot of seeds for this detachment. Nalini Dalam. And Krishna will say in the chapter 5, even this action, he will say, if this is your identical nature, if this is a Brahman, he says, Karmanye Brahmanya Dhaya Karmani Sangam Tektva Karoti Yaha Lipyate Nasa Papena Padma Patra Mibambasa. So here the actions we do, the threefold, Kayakam, Vachakam, Manasam. Let these actions be done, Krishna says. But you as an identity, because that's why you say you, this is the finger that is for pointing you. That one, if this is a Brahman, Brahmanyadaya Karmani, Sangam Tyaktva. This one is now Sangam Tyaktva from Kayakam, Vachakam, Manasam. And these are doing the actions. But this one, the you as an identity, Brahmanyadaya Karmani. Lipyate nasa papena. So like that, we will see in all of the Gitas foregoing how Krishna's whole thing is for us to engage in this action so that we are like that lotus, the water droplets on the lotus leaf. That's all what it is. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Shanti. Thank you, Ji. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will send the recording. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hari.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Babuji,
Haji. Yes.
I won't be there. Ramesh and I, we won't be there until 15th of September. We are going to London.
Oh, all the best. Good. Have fun.
Yeah, thank you. So we won't be there for 3 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. We'll miss you, but I will put it on the YouTube so you can see when you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
time.
yeah.
When you have time. No struggle. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Hari Om. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.